Hello everyone, my name is Jasmine and today I would like to do a comparison between TRS and the TIAA. And if you're new to CUNY and this is a choice that you have to make within 30 days and something that you cannot change afterwards. And I wish someone had gone over this with me, but at the time it was just like a really blind choice that I had to make, and I think a lot of people go through the same problem. And so I kind of like put the information together for those people who are new to CUNY and they have to make a choice, or if you're curious whether did I make a right choice, I kind of want to know. So I think this video might be good for them. So in order to understand what each plan is, if you look at the acronym and what it stands for each plan, you understand what they are. So for TRS, it stands for Teachers Retirement System of City of New York. And for TIAA CRAFT, there are two parts. TIAA stands for the Teachers Insurance and Annuity Association. And then the CRAFT part stands for College Retirement Equities Fund. So for TRS, it's a pension retirement income for life provided by New York City. And for TIAA CRAFT, it's an annuity, lifetime income provided by the insurance company. And pension is a type of annuity. And the difference here is that where the source of income comes from. And for pension, it comes from New York City. For annuity, it comes from insurance company. And before we understand and start calculating exactly what your retirement income will be, we have to understand, and you have to understand which tier you fall into. Which tier you belong to has a lot to do with when you first joined CUNY. So let's look at how much free money we get from CUNY, employer contribution. How much does CUNY, our employer, contribute to our plan? So let's first look at TIAA because it's a little bit more clear and explicit. So they give 8% of your salary for the first 7 years of your employment and 10% of your salary after 7 years of your employment, which is actually not too bad. And let's look at TRS and how much contribution that CUNY gives you through TRS. And this is a quote from the PDF I found on their TRS website. Actuarially determined amount to fund benefits for all plan members. It's a little bit vague. And then let's look at how much you must contribute to. This is a mandatory amount, and it's actually the same for TRS and TIAA. It will cost you the same. It ranges from 3 to 6% of your annual salary based on your income. And if you're coming in with maybe like $60,000 of pay salary, then you would be contributing 4.5% of your salary toward the retirement plan. This is mandatory and it's bare minimum. There is a voluntary option for both plans to be able to save more than 3 to 6%, and these are optional plan, and I'm going to be covering that later. And then this is a good time to define what vesting means. And vesting means this: employees' right to receive the employer's portion of retirement benefits whether or not they continue their CUNY employee. So in other words, if you quit or leave CUNY before this period, so for TRS is 5 years of service and TIAA 1 year of service, you can keep your contribution but not CUNY's contribution. So we talked about how much the actuarially determined amount for TRS and 8 to 10% for TIAA. So you get to keep the savings minus the CUNY contribution if you leave before this period. So it will be kind of a loss. And this is something you want to think about and consider if you are planning on finding employment outside of CUNY at one point. How much will I get? So that's the very important question. Exactly how much money will I get when I retire? And there's a formula for this for TRS: pension factor and age factor and final average salary. They are all considered to calculate your annual pension that you'll be receiving for the rest of your life. And so in the chart, this is the chart I found. This is called pension factor chart. I found this chart on New York State Teachers Retirement System Benefit Comparison Table, which I will also provide a link down below. And this chart I'll explain the structure of this chart. The first top layer shows the years of service that you put into CUNY. So it starts from 5 because remember the TRS minimum for it to be vested was 5 years. So it starts at 5 years and then it goes on. And then the chart goes on to 30 years and more. And then on the left side you see the age of your retirement. So this shows that this shows if you were to retire at age 55, and then right next to it there are a number of tiers, and the numbers inside of this chart, it shows the pension factor, and this the percentage that gets multiplied to your final salary to calculate your pension. This is the last part of the chart that shows it shows 30 years of service and age around 63 or older, and the pension factor does not increase after this 30-year point. And so if you did more years on top of 30 years, CUNY gives you 2% of additional years. So how much money will I get through TRS? Let's calculate. For higher education associate salary, and this person, for example, is a higher education associate and came into CUNY in year 1994 and is ready to retire this year and in year 2024 with age 65. And so if you go back to the chart, this person belongs to tier 2, and the tier 2 pension, and then with the 30 years, and the person is 65, so that person will get the pension factor of 60%. And so yeah, so if you multiply pension factor times the salary, which is the final salary of $107,789, this person will get $64,673 for the rest of the person's life. And it's very, very explicit output compared to how it said that CUNY was contributing very vague amount of actuarial determined amount, but the output is very, very specific. They make it very clear to you. Just wanted to point that out. You have to think about pension is that it's locked in. It's the money that doesn't change for the rest of your life. And if you consider inflation, which is about 3.2% nationally, but it's actually 4 to 5% in cities like New York City, after 15 years, the value of the money of $64,000 will drop to $39,000, and that's actually not even after the taxes are applied. So after taxes are applied, you can expect to be getting much less than $39,000. And so I think might be necessary to consider additional plan on top of this, other than the bare minimum that you may be contributing. So they do offer, TRS does offer additional optional plan. It's not mandatory, but given the numbers, I think you should be contributing a little bit more. And it's called TDA, Tax Deferred Annuity Program. And like I said before, it's a voluntary program to supplement the pension. It has a diversified investment, and one of the investment options that they have is called passport funds. They actually specify it in their PDF, which I included below the video. It offers fixed interest rate. I think for people who felt a little nervous about investing in the market, to show that there are conservative options even within this market investment fund. The rate fluctuates monthly based on market activity and also the plan that you choose within TDA. And this one there's no employer contribution. It's just basically your money being invested. They give you an option to put the money in the market to balance against inflation. And we saw what inflation does to pension. That's rigid for the rest of your life. It doesn't change. So now moving on to TIAA, the other plan. So the answer is depends, and this is a vague factor for TIAA. For TIAA, the input was very, very specific, 8 to 10% CUNY contribution, but the output can be vague. But I'm gonna try to give you as much detail as I can, so you can kind of see, this is kind of estimate, this is how much that I will be getting if I do invest my retirement fund in TIAA. So there are different types of products, so it depends on the products that you choose. There are options: retirement annuity option, mutual fund option, brokerage account. That's actually for people who want to have a direct control over their investment. They want to be doing the trading themselves. And there's a managed account, like example Nuveen Life Cycle. And this actually something that I also chose to do because I consider myself a passive investor. I don't know that much about investment or trading, so that's why I would rather have the professionals manage my account for a small fee. And Nuveen, one product comes with a target date, so they target date meaning the estimated date of your retirement and year of your retirement, so they will manage the risk based on as you get closer and closer to your retirement age. So if you just joined CUNY and you're still kind of young, so the portfolio based on your age will probably be very aggressive, meaning that it could be a little bit more risky, but potential for high gain. And over a period, as you're getting closer and closer, it will probably become more conservative, so you don't lose like 40% of your investment right before your retirement. So how does Nuveen Life Cycle perform over time? It shows, I just googled it and I just screenshot 9.47% over the past year, and maybe 75% over the past decade. And there's something, there is a certain amount of risk, but this is like, maybe it may fare better against the inflation. And I'm going to give you an example of estimate of my retirement saving. There's something called Income Illustrator, and it kind of helps you see around how much you might be able to retire with. So just to give you a little bit more clear picture, because this, you might say this is still very vague. Before I talk about the Income Illustrator, I want to talk about the 403B plan. This is TIAA version of the optional additional plan. There are two types: pre-tax and post-tax plans. Post-tax is Roth, in which the earnings grow tax-free. So now here's the Income Illustrator, the exciting part. So I have been putting away additional 10% on top of the minimum that I was doing with CUNY, minimum or mandatory contribution, for maybe about last 6 years. And this Income Illustrator shows two scenarios: expected scenario and worst case scenario, when the market didn't perform as well. So according to Income Illustrator that I will be getting, the expected amount is $13,793 per month. If I multiply that by 12, I will be getting $165,516 per year. And with inflation, that is worth $102,353 in today's dollars. I would say it's not bad, and I think it definitely does much better compared in terms of inflation. And I highly suggest that you make an appointment with a TIAA advisor, and this is something that you can use within your work time. This is a right given to you, so you can think about your future and plan better. And they will give, if you ask them to do an Income Illustrator, they will show it to you and see how much you would have, and see if that matches with your retirement goals and lifestyle you want to have. And if it doesn't, you might want to save more and put away more for your retirement. Well, because I have TIAA, I can share how I did sign off for the additional optional plan, 403B, and there's the form called Salary Reduction Agreement, and this is, like I said, it says it's optional plan 403B. And on the bottom of the form, there are two options. The top one is the pre-tax plan, and then the bottom one is the post-tax plan, the Roth plan. And if you want to know more about Roth, I think there's a lot of videos about it. There's a lot of huge benefits of tax advantages of signing up for Roth. This was the health benefit. and it was like a deal breaker for a coworker who recently joined CUNY. When I explained this to her, she's like, oh, okay. For TRS, you must have worked with CUNY for at least 10 years immediately before retirement to receive health benefit. And for TIAA craft, you have to work with CUNY for 15 continuous years to receive health benefit. So, looking at just the numbers by itself, you might say, well, if I choose TRS, I just need to work 10 years, whereas TIA, it just seems like it's a little bit more years. But let's say this, so you have to just focus on the word immediately here, in the 10 years immediately. So say you're age 30 when you entered CUNY, and you want to retire at age 65, or many people typically do retire at 65, which means you have to work for 35 years in order to benefit from this TRS health plan. And that's because you have to have worked 10 years immediately before retirement, which for TIAA, you can leave CUNY after accumulating 15 years of service. It has to be continuous service. Compare 35 years versus 15 years. What's actually shorter? I actually asked my HR coordinator about this. So let's say if you leave CUNY before 15 years, what happens? And let's say, yeah, you leave CUNY before 15 years and come back to CUNY to finish the rest of the 15 years. So can that work? And he said, no, the clock resets. And so it has to be a continuous years of service of 15 years. It will require you to have balance of $50,000 in TIAA, but the $50,000 is not going all towards the premium. Yes, you will be paying premium yearly, but you can file a reimbursement form through the union, and that money gets reimbursed for you. So you just have to maintain that balance. And here's a conclusion, some things to think about when you're choosing TIAA versus TRS. And each plan had an aspect of vagueness to it. So would you like explicit input versus output? So you kind of can decide what you're more comfortable with. And you can kind of decide what your risk level is. And then there's the inflation factor. And how much will your money and your pension be worth after 30 years? After maybe 30 years, 15, 20 years into retirement. And also consider taxes. The money that gets calculated, that's before taxes. Also consider that, and definitely take advantage of Roth. If you are curious about a different plan other than TIAA and TRS, I signed up for this plan that is actually fares really well against all three of these factors: risk, inflation, and taxes. Leave a comment on the below, and I can give you some more information about it. And I hope that you can make an informed choice. I hope that after watching this video, you have a better understanding of what you will be getting after you retire. Happy retirement, everyone, and good luck.